Hey, what's up, rock stars? It's Rox coming to you today with a review for Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 15, The Reunion, Part 1. All right, you guys, so it looks like we're only having a two-part reunion this season. I am so happy about that. There really is no reason for 3 episodes. So 2 is that's the sweet spot, and I'm with it. Okay, I don't know what they're gonna talk about in this next episode because the first episode pretty much covered everything that happened in the season. There was really... I mean, this reunion, if you guys really like to see a bunch of people just kind of arguing about what the other one called them, then this reunion was right up your alley, because that's all they talked about. There's nothing else really to talk about. Nothing really happened in the season. So, yeah, I mean, we mad about being called bitches, and we mad about this, and we mad about that, but there's really no substance. So, I mean, the reunion was cool for what it was worth, but it was whatever. So, I mean, I just wanted to get that clear. I guess we first usually start with the reunion looks. The way that the ladies came out, you know, of course, we see them getting ready, arriving at the place, getting ready, getting their hair and clothes and shoes and everything together, makeup, and then they come out. So first we have Kenya out, and let's just talk about the looks. So Kenya's look was a mix for me. So her hair wasn't my favorite look. The dress itself, I actually liked the dress. Was not a super huge fan of the feathers, only because they were strangely placed. I think the feathers were okay. It's just that they came, it was weird up in here for some reason. I think that maybe the feathers were overkill. If she didn't have the feathers, then, you know, I think that her dress would have been, I would have been happier with her dress. After Kenya came out, then Sheree came out. Sheree had on a number that had, it was like a corseted number, you know, pretty, you know, Sheree never really goes too far out of the box. So hers was, it was cool. It wasn't nothing, you know, that I would say was ugly, but I wasn't going to say that it was my favorite. She looked nice. Candy, I think Candy probably was going to be my best dress. Loved the short dress. Loved all of the shingles. I loved the color. I loved her hair. I loved the whole look that Candy had. So, yes. Marlo, that look was not my favorite. Although I tell you, I love Marlo's style. Even though Marlo gets on our nerves, she works them. But when I'm telling you, I follow Marlo on Instagram, and I just love to see her in her clothes. And now that she's trying to lose this weight, apparently, and doing the Ozempic or the shots, she said, she looks, I would love to have Marlo's body. Like, I feel like we are the same, we have the same frame, like we're the same height, sort of, kind of, and we kind of, the build would be the same, but of course I haven't had any work done, but I love her body. She looks fabulous. But that dress that she had, I know that the look that she was going for, but it didn't give me quite that. It did give me Miss Roper, like Kenya called her. But it didn't look bad on her. It just was just sort of like, oh, this is the look, like, you know, fresh out of the shower, lounging at home, waiting for my billionaire husband to come home from work. I mean, maybe it works. Not my favorite on Marlo. I've seen her look better. For some reason, whenever Marlo comes to the reunions, her reunion looks don't ever really hit for me. Her everyday Instagram looks, when I look on her now, she'd be looking good on there. But yeah, on reunions, for some reason, I think she'd be overthinking it and doing too much. So yeah, no. Drew's dress, I think that Drew was just, it was a whole lot for her small self. So it just seemed like it kind of overpowered her, but she didn't look bad. Then Sonya came out. Sonya looked beautiful. And Sonya was the last to come out. And Sonya also was pregnant. Because you guys remember at the end of this season, she had a miscarriage. And apparently the ladies did not know that she was pregnant. She was keeping that pretty much a secret from everybody. So when she got to the reunion, they saw her. Her dress was beautiful. It was very understated, but it was perfect because it was there to accentuate her stomach. And it laid perfectly, laid on her stomach, you know, and she just looks really nice. So that was my looks for everybody. best dress, I guess, will be Candy for me. And I guess if we were going to talk about Courtney and Manetta, we can go on and throw them in there. Manetta did not like the pant outfit. I know she was trying to do something different because the ladies usually wear dresses. So, I mean, you know, we'll give her kudos for that, you know. Give her a couple of extra points for doing something different than everybody else. So, but yeah, that wasn't my favorite look on Manetta. And then Courtney, surprisingly, I loved her dress. Like, I loved her dress. She looked fantastic. Yeah, I just loved her dress, which is terrible to say because we can't stand Courtney, but Courtney was looking good, you guys. I'm gonna have to give it to her. We got to keep things real here, right? And Andy, of course, is always Andy. So those were the looks. That was the ladies. Anyway, Andy, once he gets everybody seated, he goes around, you know how he greets everybody. He tells us that he's hoping that this reunion will give us overdue healing. So he greets the ladies. Sheree, good to see you. Okay, we comment on her new nose that that she has. She says that she was having breathing problems, so she just had the doctors, once they was in there fixing the breathing situation, she told them to just tweak her nose a little bit, so that's why she has the new look. Candy said that she is busy, which we saw all season, but Don made sure that she made it to the reunion. Marlo said that she's taking the shots to get to sample size. Sample size is 2. I think that that's too small, really, for somebody that's our height. But, you know, she wants to be able to wear those clothes. So, I mean, I see what she's trying to do. But I think that she's perfect right where she is. She's probably a good 5'6" right now. And just, yeah, Marlo's body is mwah! Kenya, you know, Andy said that he enjoyed her under boob, you know, that was a area that wasn't explored often, that she looked great. And then he talked to Drew, asked her how difficult it was living in the house with Ralph, you know, with them going through this divorce, and well, they're making it work. But yes, the divorce is still on. And Sonia, look at you. You got a new baby in your belly. And she says that she is due on Christmas Day. So everybody was like, oh, okay. So we got the pleasantries out the way, the greetings. Let's get to the review. Okay, so we start with Sheree and Martell, I guess. We'll throw Martell in there with it. Now, first, what's the story about Bob's daughter? Well, she said that she didn't know about the girl. And that that girl actually was older than, I thought the girl was younger than, but I guess apparently this girl is older than Sheree's kids, and Bob didn't bother to tell her about the kids. Child, I don't know. Okay, that story still sounds very weird to me, even though one of I've spoken to one of the rock stars who is a little closer to the story, and they said that, yeah, no, Sheree really didn't know. And I just was like, I don't understand where your kids come from. How do your kids not tell you? My kids tell me everything. Like, I just don't understand. But okay, fine. If they say that she didn't know, she didn't know. But I mean, it doesn't really matter, because I know Sheree doesn't care about Bob. So my point wasn't, so I didn't think that, you know, people were trying to protect her feelings, because it was just sort of like, Sheree ain't thinking about Bob. She don't want that nigga no more. She probably didn't hardly want him when they were still together, you know? So I didn't, anyway, it was all quite strange. Even Candy agreed that it was weird. This is not a way to reveal your daughter on the show. And Candy, since we're talking to you, what about you thinking that Sheree looked like Drew? Oh, we had a rousing conversation about this. You know, the fact that Candy said that just in that instance, in that confessional and whatever, Sheree did look like Drew. Okay. And Sheree was just like, the fact that you would say that one of my worst looks, one of my worst pictures of me looks like Drew, is really an insult to Drew. Candy was just like, I'm just saying, she didn't really look like Drew to me. She just looked like somebody else. She didn't look like Sheree. And then one of the viewers, we took a viewer question. They asked Sheree, you know, did she feel bad about the fact that Martell was out there in Huntsville still spreading his big dick energy, you know, throughout the town. And Sheree said, long story short, that she ended up having to take a step back from Martell. She really did like him. She enjoyed him. They had a great time when they were together. He treated her well, you know, and I guess deed her down or whatever. But, you know, she just had to take a step back because all of the things that Martell does in his bullshit always reflects on her. So she always has to deal with his bullshit and she's tired of it. So, you know, she says that she really likes him, but she loves herself more. So I guess that means that her and Martell, because like I told you guys, Martell in the previews for Huntsville is acting like he's trying to get back with Melody or something. You know, the trailers are always misleading, but suffice it to say, Martell ain't really thinking about Sheree like that. Okay, so she cut it off, said that looks like it's a wrap on that. He lasted for 1 season. Kenya was like, oh, you mean him releasing revenge porn of his ex-wife? Because that's what Sheree is avoiding telling us, that Martell was out there threatening to put a sex video of him and Melody having sex, you know, out. Well, Kenya, now that we're speaking to you, why did you wait so long to tell Sheree about Martell? Because if Martell had then sent that DM to you a couple of years ago, granted she never responded, all of this, you know, you had plenty of time between that moment and the moment on the show when we actually did, because we knew that Sheree was seeing Martell even before they had started filming again for the new season. So it was just sort of like, if you had all of this going on, why didn't you tell Sheree ahead of time? You know, you waited until we got to the Ross's birthday party and then you decided that you wanted to confront Martell and make a big scene out of it. You guys, side note, Kenya wasn't on this reunion. I don't know what's going on with Kenya. I don't know if Kenya knows that she's about to leave, or if Bravo knows that Kenya is about to leave, or I don't really know what it is, but Kenya was not at 100. She was not at her best in this reunion. She didn't have her quick, clever, cute little comebacks. Nobody really did. It was just, yeah, it was interesting. Kenya tried to downplay it and say that it was irrelevant, that she didn't need to tell Sheree because it wasn't that big a deal. But you made it quite the big deal at Ross's party, so okay, Kenya, if that's what you say. Nope, Mark and his nose ring still has problems with Kenya. And they are still in court. You know, the newest now is his issues with little baby Brooklyn. And, you know, of course, he was upset that Kenya had Brooklyn with her when they were they were going to the Magic City Classic. And so, you know, the fact that Marlo was kicking at the door and acting a fool, now he got a problem with that. He done brought that to the court. Okay. And, Andy asked Marlo, you know, what do you think about that? Marlo said that she felt pretty bad about that she didn't even know that Brooklyn was in the room, and that, you know, she hated that. She wished that Brooklyn wasn't even there. Kenya was like, what are you saying? I don't even know what you're saying right now. Andy was like, she's trying to apologize. Okay. Kenya was like, that apology should have came back in the form of whatever. And then I guess this was when Kenya thought she was about to have her moment. She was just like, and so, you know, since you had so much to say, you are going to have to be coming to court. You know, here's a subpoena for you. And she pulls it out the back of her back. I was just like, I didn't know that you can actually give somebody a subpoena when you're the person that is charging. You know, I didn't understand all of this because I was like, you have to have somebody else serve a subpoena. Okay. Maybe I don't know. Okay. But anyway, Kenya pulls it out. Can you pass this over to her? You know, and Andy was just like, he gets it and he opens it up and he was just like, oh, okay. So a subpoena. Oh, this is a lot. Like, oh, and then he was just like, but it's blank. And Kenya was like, what? He was like, there's nothing on it. Oh, well, they just printed the wrong one. But trust me, there is a subpoena. I was just like, oh. We at least need you to have the official subpoena, Kenya. When Andy said it was blank and the ladies all started laughing, I cracked up. I was just like, oh, poor Kenya. Like, I know that was supposed to be your big moment. And girl, it fell flat. And then to hear Marlo with her laugh, you know, I was like, oh my God. That shit was funny. I was like, Mo done scratched the neck. But apparently, Kenya is all up in the bunch because Kenya is saying that Marlo showed up on Mark's cell phone records. I guess she was able to see them in court, and Marlo's number is on there. You know, Marlo had reached out to Mark trying to get some dirt on Kenya. That's what Kenya is saying. And Marlo is just like, I've never called Mark. I don't know what she's talking about. Of course, we didn't have no cell phone records there, so we can't confirm or dispute whether or not this happened, but suffice it to say, I was like, Kenya, well, yeah, your subpoena thing, I guess. I mean, she did end up posting her subpoena on Instagram. And then there's a thing, people have a lot to say about the subpoena, whether or not it's official or not. I mean, it looked official to me, okay? It's just that she didn't have it at the actual reunion. So, I mean, you know, there's that. But just for confirmation's sake, Marlo, are you friends with Mark and his nose ring? And Marlo said no. Now, getting back to Sheree and Martell not paying for his her birthday dinner. We never really got to the bottom of why he didn't pay for the dinner, other than the fact that he just didn't pay for it. You know, Sheree was getting around to it, but she never finished what her thought was. But it was a last minute dinner, apparently. She invited Martell as her guest. I don't know who paid for the dinner, because Sheree said that she didn't pay for it, so I don't know. Did they take money from everybody and everybody split the bill? Child, I don't know. It was funny because Andy was like, Sheree, you have an interesting relationship with paying bills. And she was like, well, you know, when the lady started laughing, she was like, well, I've never been sued, you know, from anybody saying that I've never paid them or that I was stealing a restaurant idea. And Candy was just like, stealing a restaurant idea? Like, what are you talking about, bitch? Everybody know that OLG is based on my aunts, okay? Johnny can go and say whatever he want to say. But Johnny, you see OLG is now open in multiple locations, and Johnny is still wherever Johnny is. So then Candy and Sheree get into this whole back and forth about the businesses. Sheree is just like, why are you so bothered about my businesses? And what? And Candy was just like, I'm not bothered by your businesses at all. But if you're going to say something about my business, then of course I'm going to say some shit back about your business. The fashions that was on your damn fashion show last season wasn't even on your website. And, you know, Sheree was talking and yelling and screaming and trying to overtalk Candy so that we couldn't understand. But we all agree with Candy. That shit that they showed in the fashion show was not on the website for the majority of things, okay? And so she was saying that she has her stuff and, you know, you worry about your OLG and go mop them dirty-ass, greasy-ass floors. And Candy was like, what? Like, that's your comeback? Is the greasy floors? It's a restaurant, so yes, there might be some grease there. All we got to do is mop that up. What you gonna do about these missing fashions that ain't never been on your damn website? Okay. And so then that's when Sheree was like, why you so worried about me? She not worried about you, Sheree. You the one that brought up the damn restaurant, not her. Worry about your employees getting shot. Okay. Candy was just like, you worry about, you know, what's going on with your face. It's just like, uh-oh. So now, like I said, it's just name calling. Okay, Candy talking about her puffy, fluffy face when she came back too soon, you know, after she had her nose job. Sheree, again, because she has the floor, she pulls out her props, you know. Between this bag, you know, Drew said that she didn't get her bag last season, so let me give Drew this bag. You know, she get up, she give Drew the bag, and then it has a, you know, end scene. One of these things there is inside, you know, give that to Candy so she can say, you know, Candy was just like, oh my God. Okay. But yeah, Sheree really went all out. She even brought out a newsletter that she made, which was really just bad reviews and articles and things about Candy's businesses, you know, people that, not articles official, I would say that these are people's reviews that they've said of her restaurant and all that. So I was just like, you did so much for this newsletter. I feel like Sheree put more energy into this newsletter than she ever has into her She by Sheree website. Girl, you had all this printed out and they passed it out and everything, but we still can't get nothing but a sweatshirt and sweatpants and cap on your website. Okay. So, you know, like Andy said, the newsletter, the whole thing was just to take down Candy, talking about her businesses and all that. But is that what you want to see in a reunion? Because you got it, if that's what you wanted. Did She by Sheree turn a profit? Well, Andy, you know that businesses don't turn a profit, you know, for the first couple of years. So no, she hasn't received a profit yet. Like I said, it was just a whole bunch of nothing but Sheree was feeling herself, honey. When she got up and she was just like, let me get up so you can get the whole picture. Bitch, you could never. I was just like, oh, okay. I mean, Sheree does look great. Sheree does look great. But Candy looks great too. And if Candy didn't look great, she got the money to make herself look great. So, bitch, you could never, I don't really know if that's it's just like, child, whether you got it naturally or whatever, we can get this look. So, I mean, it was surprising that Sheree was saying these things to Candy. I was just like, oh, okay, Sheree. But yeah, Sheree was feeling it. And the fact that she was sitting next to Andy, I think that gave her some extra battery juice in her back. Because you guys saw the way they had them set up. I didn't tell you guys, but the way that it went, if we was looking at the horseshoe, and we talked about the extras too, it would be Monyetta, Candy, Kenya. So Candy is all the way at the end of this damn couch, basically. Monyetta, Candy, Kenya, Drew, Sheree, Marlo, Sonya, Courtney. Okay, so that's the way it went. So you've got Drew and Sheree sitting right next to Andy, which who would have put Sheree and Drew of all people next to Andy, you know? So even the seating arrangements is a little different, and I was just looking at this like, oh, very interesting. So take that as you want, but yeah, so far it was nothing. How was it shooting the movie? She said it was, you know, actually it was all top tier. She can't complain about anything. It was 10 days. It was a very aggressive schedule. And Andy was like, yeah, it was like nobody does anything in 10 days. So yeah, she worked hard and she couldn't complain. The only thing is, you know, Drew did it as a favor to Todd, you know, because they're friends. Her and Candy are friends. Her and Todd are friends or whatever. So she went on and did it. She did it for less than she would, you know. So then they had to make a big deal out of the fact that Drew usually asked for more money and that Todd couldn't afford it. But it was just sort of like, well, this is Todd's first movie. I mean, all that made sense. So she might have did it as a favor and accepted less than she would. I mean, there's nothing there, you guys. Kenya, did you shade Drew about the video that she was making? Remember, she had all the ladies in her Already Know video that Ralph produced and wrote. Kenya called it a bootleg Beyonce blow video. And Kenya said, yeah, she did say that, but maybe she shouldn't have said it. You know, it was just fun, cute shade. But Drew was upset about that because you guys know Drew gets upset about everything. And I know Drew's going through a divorce and she might be super emotional, but it's just sort of like Drew picks every single thing that somebody calls about her and then she harps on it forever and ever and ever. Okay, so she didn't like the fact that Kenya said that Kenya did apologize. And then they asked Candy, did she start up the whole rumor about Drew kissing LaToya to pump up the movie? And Candy was just like, what? Like, first of all, they were in Portugal when they were having that big discussion. Candy wasn't thinking about Todd's movie. No, she did not do that. The fact that Drew kept on making it a big deal and saying that she didn't do the kissing, you know, Candy was just like, I know what I saw, and I saw what I saw. You know, well, then why did you say back in the day that, you know, if you thought you saw, maybe you saw wrong and that you apologized? And Candy was just like, I just said that because maybe I thought maybe Drew was trying to save face in her marriage and trying to make sure that her marriage stayed on track. And I didn't want to be a contributor to her marriage falling apart or whatever. So I just said, okay, if that's what you say, then fine. But I know I saw them damn kiss. Marlo, didn't you see them kissing? Marlo was like, well, I saw 80%. And Candy was just like, there you go with that 80% again. Okay? Because Marlo was just like, she saw, but you know, they was drinking. There was a whole lot going on. So maybe but no, I still believe there's no reason for, they were all fucked up that night and it was a whole lot going on. And they did mention that Drew and LaToya kissed last season. And you know, it wasn't even that big deal. I mean, not last season, that season. So Candy, now that Candy is sitting there, and, you know, Drew is fussing, I mean, profusely back at Candy, like, oh, those are candy-coated lies. No, she did not kiss LaToya. And Candy was just like, the fact that you sitting up here and telling me to my face that I'm lying when I know that I'm not, and I know what you did, you know, then that makes me feel like you gaslighting Ralph, okay? I don't even know if I can believe everything that, and you can't believe everything that Drew says, okay? Now, Ralph is horrible. We ain't gonna take that away from Ralph. Ralph is trash, okay? But Drew has, you guys know that Drew lies quite a bit. So Drew's problem Drew has created her own problem. She has made it hard for us to know when she's telling the truth or not. So now we all look at Drew with a side eye too. So now you can't really tell where Drew and Ralph are, because when like I told you guys last week, when that Ty situation came up, oh Ty, honey, Drew was just smiling and all of that. So it was just sort of like, yeah, there's still more to that story. So yeah, Candy was like, the lies, the lies, the lies. Drew was like, wait a minute. So while Drew was going back and forth with Candy, you know, Drew was like, wait a minute, I just need to make sure that we're good. And Candy was looking at her like, girl, why you think we good? And Andy was like, you guys are so not good. And I was just like, I told you guys already that Candy don't see it for Drew. Like, them two, I don't think the friendship is gonna make it, because they got it's too much stuff floating around in the background. Let's just say we acquaintances. I don't think that we gonna add Drew to the Candy friend list. And Marlo, since we're talking about treating Drew better, you need to treat Drew better too. They're always talking about her body and all of that. You know, they talk about the plastic surgery and everybody's body, and Marlo was just like, I don't even understand what's the big deal. Everybody has had work done to their body. So, I mean, if you're gonna talk about my body and my lipo that I've had 3 times, then, you know, but folks, everybody on this stage has had work done, and I agree. I don't know why the plastic surgery read always goes far on this show in particular, because everybody has had work with the exception of Sonya. But anyway, all that being said, do we think that Ralph and Drew might make it back together? Most of the ladies feel like they probably will. Okay. And I was like, see, and that's exactly what I told you guys. Remember I said Courtney out here is saying all this shit, being the mouthpiece for Ralph or whatever, and she gonna turn around and see Ralph and Drew might end up back together, and then she gonna be the odd man out. Okay, so we get through that whole segment, and what did we really accomplish there? Okay, we talked about Candy. Candy talked about Sheree's nose. They talked about the plastic surgery. They talked about each other's businesses. Any storyline conversations? No, right? Because nothing happened this season. And if you didn't realize that from watching this reunion, then you weren't really paying attention. Okay? This reunion should really let you know that there's nothing to discuss. So they go to break, and then they come back from the break, and now we've added Courtney and Manetta. So Andy, you know, once we start talking to Courtney, we trying to figure out what is the connection that Courtney and Ralph for them to be cousins. Well, apparently Courtney said that her dad's sister, so that's her aunt, is married to Ralph's uncle. Okay. So really there is no blood relation there. There is just, they are related through marriage, and really not even just, it's still like some separation there. But anyway, that's how they call themselves cousin. Andy was like, yeah, that's not really cousins, but okay. We'll come back to Courtney. So Marlo, you still seeing Scott Lee? Yep, she's still seeing Scott Lee. You know, she hasn't met his kids. He ain't met her boys, but they're still seeing each other. Yes, they've slept together, and everything is just cool. Now, you guys know that Marlo hasn't had sex apparently before Scott Lee. It had been some years. So one of the viewers asked her, you know, surely you have been having your needs met. And Marlo was just like, yeah, I'm not really a big sex person. Like, I'm not a bedroom person. I don't really have to be, you know. She ain't fucking hot in the loins like Candy and but you know, Marlo is still ace boon coons with Courtney. Courtney is helping her get her record expunged. Courtney and Phaedra. And Andy was just like, oh, okay. And honey just passed right on over that. Didn't mention nothing else about Phaedra. And then it was back to Kenya again. You know, why is it that it was a big deal that Martell had slid into your DMs, but then all of a sudden it wasn't a big deal when Rory had slid into Marlo's DMs? And Kenya again, I was just like, ooh, Kenya, you just not playing this right. You know, instead of her just saying, listen, Rory must have wanted to see her at one point, but that didn't work out. And then he decided that he wanted to see me. Kenya doesn't want to look like the sloppy seconds, which she doesn't. Okay. Especially if Marlo had already said that it was just one date. So it wasn't even really nothing. So Kenya, the fact that, oh, he just, you know, she used to putting money on the counter when her dates end, you know, going to Taco Bell. I was just like, ooh, all of it looks bad. Like, I know you think you're doing the reads and all, but it just kind of looks like you are, you know, jealous, or you were trying to avoid looking like the sloppy sex. Like, it's just not a cute look. Okay. girl, you can't sit there and argue what this man wanted because he ain't even there. All right. Now, granted, I know Rory probably didn't come on the show because he didn't want to get caught up in the drama with Kenya, especially when Marlo, it came out that Marlo, you know, he had went out with Marlo. He probably was like, fuck it, I ain't going on that show because y'all not about to rip me apart. Okay. But Kenya, I was just like, girl, you can't, quit trying to talk for that man. You don't know what that man might have wanted. Girl, just be like, well, that didn't work, and you know. But she couldn't be like that because she made such a big deal about the whole Martell thing that she had to try to make this look different. But I was just like, yeah, Kenya, not the best look, girl. You up here trying to downplay that whole thing. Should have just left it alone. So yeah, she tries to blame Rory not being on the show on Marlo, but I was just like, no, Rory did not want to be a part of any of Real Housewives drama. Marlo, Kenya, Candy, Courtney, Sonya, all of them. He just would rather steer clear. They had Marlo do a little fashion corner look, talk about all the ladies, and I pretty much agreed with everything that Marlo said. For all of the looks that the ladies had. Then we take it to Manetta and the whole big collusion, the argument they had when they was down there for the Magic City Classic or whatever, and even lump in the conversation of Courtney calling Drew a bitch while they were in Portugal when they were all arguing. So now we're discussing that. Also, we're going to discuss Courtney calling Candy ghetto. And they were like, Courtney never called her ghetto. Courtney talked about her friends, but Candy had a problem with Sonya. See, this is the whole thing. Candy had a problem with Sonya because Sonya laughed when Courtney said that. And Candy felt like Sonya didn't have her back. But my whole thing was, I don't think that Sonya played that situation wrong. She did laugh. It was kind of like, just kind of a taken aback that Courtney had said what she said, but she was like, you know, Candy is my friend. I am going to tell her what you said. Like, Sonya did everything that she was supposed to do. Okay? And even though she might have laughed, but she still was just like, yeah, no, you know, my girl, that's my girl. I'm going to tell her, blah, 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 blah. And Candy still had a problem with it. I was just like, what? And I love the fact that Sonya showed Candy. She was like, oh, okay, so you was mad about me laughing about that. But remember at the last reunion when Drew was flicking her hair in my face, and I was like, Andy, she's flicking her hair in my face, like, you better tell her to stop. And Candy laughed. And she was like, and you told me, well, you know what, sis, that really was funny. Okay. So now you mad about me laughing, and I can't tell you, well, it really was funny, but I still, as a friend, came and told you what she said. You still mad at the fact that I laughed, but you laughed when Drew was flicking her hair in my face. And Candy couldn't say nothing. And I was just like, yeah, Sonya did have a point. Okay? Everybody here is the butt of a joke at some point. All right? The shit might be funny. You might laugh, but you might not necessarily agree. Like, okay, that shit was funny, but that ain't cool. You know, what the fuck? I can't have a reaction now? So it's just sort of like Candy picking at Sonya about her laughing at the... I was just like, oh my God. Again, where's the stories that we're... Nothing, right? Okay, just making sure you guys remember that. Nothing, no stories has happened yet. Then Sheree and Manetta argue about her calling her a hyena. Listen, I don't even remember all that. They get into the argument about that. As far as the video that Marlo took, the reason why that was so controversial is because Marlo sent it outside of the group. Courtney and Manetta just sent production the extra video that they had filmed. Now, Drew, why did you get so mad that she called you a bitch? And bitch. Drew said that she felt like she didn't deserve it. But again, I was just like, it was just like this bitch. I know you guys and some of my people, some of the rock stars in the comments was like, you know, my friends don't call me bitches and I don't call my friends bitches. I was like, that's fine. You don't have to call your friends bitches, and you can require your friends not to call you bitches. I'm not saying that we ought to be able to call you bitch, even though I might say it as a term of endearment. If you don't like that term, then fine, I'm not going to call you a bitch. But what I'm saying is, you got to understand that there's plenty of women that do use that term and use it in an endearing way. Like, this bitch, that's my bitch. A bitch, what? You know, like, that happens. So Courtney saying it, I didn't feel like it was directed directly at Drew as in bitch. Even but Drew is gonna harp on it because we don't like Courtney. We don't like this relationship that Courtney and Ralph has. Drew, even though she lies and shit, she's the one that we are more, you know, we have accepted Drew as a housewife, so we're gonna protect her in that way. And so that's why. But Drew is just, that whole thing about the bitch, it didn't require all that. Courtney and Drew kind of get into it then. Courtney is yelling and screaming. It's the veins and all this popping out. I was just like, y'all way too emotional. We get off of that. We get on to the Kenya salon. Where are you with Kenya's hair care, the hair care salon, Kenya Moore Hair Care Salon? And she said that she's getting a second floor added. And so they're still doing construction there. And the salon will be open soon. I know you guys saw on Instagram, somebody was trying to say that Kenya lied about her salon and that she had it in the lobby of some apartment building or something, and it was a woman. She went and showed the pictures and all of that, and Candy had to come back out and say that is not true. She definitely has a salon. They're working on it still. That's why it hasn't opened. That's why it hasn't been seen yet. You know, people just be trying to make up stories and lies, and Kenya wasn't lying about her. So I was just like, who has that kind of time just to go and think that you exposing Kenya in this salon and all of that? I was just like, boy, people really just ain't got shit else to do but think that they making a statement on social media. But yeah, apparently Kenya had her soft opening, but they still haven't had the grand opening. That's still coming. Then we talk about Candy and her barely being around. Candy said that she bit off more than she can chew. Okay, she was doing this show. She was doing her show with her group Escape. And I'm sure you guys know that Escape also still travels and tours and performs. So she was trying to do that. She's still working on Real Housewives of Atlanta. She probably was still behind the scenes trying to get her next production gig up in Broadway, you know, up in New York. She also is on The Shy. I don't know if they're recording at the time, but like Candy is about 15 different places at once. Okay, so the heifer was tired. And that's why she hasn't had really much patience with anybody this season as well. Monyetta, what about Drew talking about this crush that she has on Ty? And Monyetta said, I mean, we were talking about it. You know, we were laughing. We were on set. And when she said that, you know, I'm going to leave and go be with my crush. And she said, who's your crush? And she said, Ty, you know, and Drew said that they were just joking around. The fact that they were already on set and, you know, she's supposed to be with this woman in the movie. And, you know, so she was just kind of joking around, playing on the whole situation and saying that she was going to leave and be with Ty and all of that, which could very well be true, but it could very well be a lie too, because you don't know, because it's Drew. So, well, Courtney, what do you know about this? Well, Courtney says, yeah, you know, Ralph has been really hurt by all the things that Drew has said and done. Okay. Is that true, Drew? And Drew was like, Courtney knows nothing about what goes on in my marriage. Okay. She just be out there. You know, Ralph has been coaching her all season. Oh, Ralph has not been coaching me. Ralph has been coaching her all season and having her to say all these things, which brings me to this point, bitch. Don't you ever say nothing. She didn't say bitch, but don't you ever say nothing about my kids again. You keep my kids out your name out your mouth. You don't know nothing about my kids. Courtney's like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? I can't say whatever I want. Or what? What are you going to do? If I say what? If I say something, what? I was like... Drew was just like, you don't ever say anything about my kids ever again. Don't you ever say. And Courtney was just simply asking, oh, what was going to happen? People don't usually ask that question. But when Courtney said that she didn't talk about Drew's kids and Andy was like, yes, you did. I was cracking up. Drew was like, your dumb ass didn't realize that the cameras were still rolling, you know, but you saying that, you know, because we heard Courtney say last episode that that's why Drew wanted Ralph to adopt her son so that she could take the money and then go and be in her lesbian bisexual relationship with Ty. So, you know, they argue with Drew threatening to do something to Courtney and Courtney calling her to the floor about it and it's like, what you gonna do if I do say something else? Courtney obviously doesn't care because Courtney has had a lot to say since then. Okay, we've seen her in interviews and everything. So yeah, Courtney don't give a fuck. We don't like Courtney, but I was just like, Courtney ain't afraid to go there, child. She might be our new villain, even though they're saying that none of them is gonna be back next season. But Courtney, I mean, she ain't afraid to do what she need to do, right? So, yeah. So anyway, that was the first part to the reunion. Next week, I think, is just the second and the final, and fine, because again, what are we talking about? The only story really is Drew and Ralph. Nobody else has a story. Nobody. None of them, including Candy and Kenya, okay? And Marlo, so it's just sort of like, whatever. But it is what it is. Did you guys enjoy the reunion? Let me get off of here, get this edited up to you. I've got to go to my office. Been going quite a bit these days, you guys, but yeah, I gotta just go for about an hour. And then get on back, you guys. Anyway, make sure that you thumbs up this video, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Roxanne. The channel is itsrox. Everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, rock stars. Bye.